questions.
We've usually got a good answer to everything, haven't we?
Yeah. Right, I think we're on now.
We're up and running.
Right.
It's full of it, aren't you?
Full of bullshit,
Good morning, this is Dennis Jarman, slightly hungover from Planet March website, talking to a very fresh-faced Vardis. Welcome Terry, Steve and Gary to Brofest UK. You're excited about playing tonight?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
breakfast.
Yeah.
Really looking forward
totally.
to it.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
like this for weeks, you know, and it's finally nearly here.
Yeah, it was interesting. We just finished a sound check, and it's the first time in many decades that we've played through a decent sound system. And all the rehearsals now it just puts it into perspective. That feeling, you just can't beat it. And I don't know how I managed to not do it for so long.
Well, when the time's right, isn't it? You know, it's.
I suppose
these
it was
things
just,
take time.
was just one of them things, and I just realise now it's once it's in your blood, it never goes away, does it? Really? What can I say?
Yeah. I had the sound check from outside, and I would get like a bit of the hair in the back of the neck, sort of. Well, at least here, you know. You know, I couldn't see a 40-foot, you know, Vardis tour was outside, so I thought...
We're going to do a core number, won't we, to start with?
No, it felt great, really good.
Yeah. I've been talking to, like, a lot of old fans, well, old in age and old fans, and they're just on the edge of their seats. And, you know, the jacket I'm wearing, I've had the Vardis logo there well over 30 years, and whenever I go to a gig, people say, "Oh, Vardis, whatever happened to them?" You know, so, it isn't just like it's like a recent thing, you know, about your reforming. A lot of people have been asking about this for quite a long time.
Are we like legendary?
Yeah.
Like the Lone Ranger?
Yeah, we're Lone Ranger.
Wow!
You're the Tonto of rock and roll, Terry.
No, that's going to stick.
A great man might say the Three Stooges, but So.
No, forgot what we were saying.
Three Stooges.
What were you saying, Dennis? I forgot.
I can't remember that.
It's a good sign because we can't do an interview properly because the gig's going to really smooth.
You were saying
about
a lot of people have been asking a long time.
That was incredible, to be honest with you, because I didn't realise until Gary came to see me last year, and it's not. Let's put it this way: 12 months ago at this time.
Literally.
We hadn't even spoken at this point for like over a decade or so.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not that we ever fell out, it was just that you go your own separate ways and you do your thing, and we just closed the door. We recorded that Vigilante album back in about 1984, 85, and there were all sorts of stuff kicking off with various contractual obligations and this, that and the next thing, and it just got to the point where like we thought, enough's enough. And it was a case of just walking away, and I think the music business at that time just had a belly full. I mean, I just think we were unlucky that we didn't get in the right representation, the right advice.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's just a luck thing, and we'd had enough. And I think other opportunities open up in life, and you go down different paths.
Yeah.
And
different parts of the country.
Yeah, and we just did it that way. And I basically felt I'd had enough of being part of the music scene, end of story at that point, and I moved into a different type of work, which was in education.
Yeah.
And
you was going to join the Foreign Legion, weren't you?
You know, that were you.
Oh,
So no, that's how it worked. And in a way, in order to achieve what I did in education, I suppose you've got to close the door on the other stuff, because I'm one of those people I can't multitask. I am either that or I'm that, and it's like now it's this, and
throw yourself into it.
And so we're back in full swing.
Yeah.
See what happens to that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's like we almost picked up where we left off, didn't we? We're really weird, as if those 27 years had just went. And it just
that's one of my questions actually. I read about when Status Quo reformed the Frantic Four, and they said when they first plugged in and did Junior's Wailing, it was straight away.
Yeah.
So how did it feel when you all plugged in and
Felt good.
It felt good even before we played anything, didn't it?
Oh,
we just on the phone, we were just laughing.
We've never,
just out of joy of being in
Yeah.
contact again, you know. It was.
It's been
strange.
tremendous to hear the voices of guys again on the, when they rang and we were just chatting and we were just having a real scream on the phone and so we went in rehearsal and it felt really good. But we then did Let's Go, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, there were obviously little hiccups on the other
Yeah.
stuff, but I think we did Let's Go, and it was just bang on, unbelievable, as if we played the night before.
Yeah.
And it was like, we
stood
stopped
there, and they were like,
we looked at each other and thought, and nothing just happened, did it?
It's a sign, isn't it? You know. When,
Yeah.
It's you know. It's
if
right.
it had been,
You know.
where would have been? Oh well, that would all right.
There were no hiccup,
we just like
as
bang.
if we'd never stopped.
So we
playing.
thought we'll do another rehearsal, see if it would have failed. so we came in, we did second one, and we did another number with Situation Negative, wasn't it? And that was bang again. So we thought, right, let's just keep going and see what happens. And then obviously the media were such as Facebook and a couple of other bits started kicking off. Everybody saying, you know, and then it's just moved on.
It just got to that point where we thought, you know what, let's just confirm, because Brofest had been speaking to you for a while, and we said, let's just get it confirmed, and then it just forces the agenda.
Yeah.
We've just got to make sure that
It's a good festival to play. I mean, there are like sort of other UK festivals here that, without being funny, I'm not really sure if you would have fitted on the bill. I'm not going to mention names, you know, but you know, with this sort of thing, you know what you're going to get. And it's
cool.
It's the older bands, you know. Some have all the old members, some have maybe one or two, but you know what you got to get.
Gaskin last night.
Gaskin, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't get to speak to Paul, but you know, I caught him a couple of years ago in a festival in Wolverhampton, and they still, excuse me.
Right.
Is it on there?
What is that?
What?
Is it a recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
They still play the same.
Yeah.
The drummer's in a band car crash, you know, a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and he did the gig. You know, you wouldn't have sort of noticed, but I was stood next to Paul's wife, Sue Gaskin, and you know, singing all the lyrics. And I said to him, you watch this sort of thing, it makes you feel 17 or 18 again.
It does, yeah.
You know?
That's
I've got a good memory of being 17
that's
or
it.
18.
And it's a memory of feeling, isn't it, as well. It's not just like the memory of pictures, you actually feel it, and that's memories.
Right. Back to the Vigilante album. Obviously you remastered it. How did you feel approaching it after all these years?
I was more terrified about the tapes, whether they would play, because after, you know, they're analogue tapes, which is like that ferric oxide on like a resin base, and nobody really knows how long they're supposed to last. And I know a lot of tapes historically have fallen apart, and it's one of the reasons people do, you know, put them into computers for archive purposes, if nothing else.
Right, yeah.
And it was just the tapes were in my lockup, and I just basically got them out. I thought we'll have one shot really of getting this, because the more you play them and run them over the tape heads, the more there's potentially all that ferric oxide's going to fall off the tape.
No pressure then. No.
Oh no! And we just, you know, hit the record button on the computer system and just hit play on the tape deck, and they just sounded amazing.
Yeah. Did you consider re-recording it, or you just, or not?
I think individually we all thought it never got a good crack when it was released, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd played it a few times before we ever talked about getting back together, and I thought, oh, this is a really good album. You know, looking at it from, you know, standing back and listening to it and thinking it's just got some really good songs on it, good melodies, you know, things that you don't often find in the heavy rock stuff.
I can remember it being very underrated back in the day, and didn't get like any good reviews. You know,
it just slid out, didn't it?
I think because it took so long to come out as well, because we'd had a couple of contractual issues, and it got delayed with its release, and it only got licensed and pressed on vinyl. I think it came out about a year or two after we'd done it, and it should have had a momentum and didn't get that. So at the end of the day, I think going back to it being salvaged or saved, not salvaged actually, and once we got it in the computer, it was like amazing because it sounded like we'd recorded it last week.
It's very fresh.
And it was so fresh, and the sound quality were all there, and there weren't any issues, and it was like,
I think, did I play that?
and it was like,
that's what we were saying. What was that? That can't be Gary.
and again, it's like it's like it's meant to have been. It was meant to sit there for all those years and stay intact and be available again. And people, I hope now people can have a good listen to it properly as a CD recording that would be it'd be a breath of fresh air. Because to me, I was pleasant. I haven't heard it for 20 years, and I was pleasantly surprised how the quality of it. It's by far the best album we ever did, and I think there's a lot we can do with that, and play some of the tracks live and so on as well. It's good. I enjoy it.
And you've also recorded a new album, or you're still writing songs for a new album?
Yeah, we've got. I see. The thing is, I never stopped writing songs, and I used to write the songs on acoustic guitar back in the day as well, and then just sort of start playing them loud on electric, and then the lads would all fall in and it would all come together. But the song side, I never really stopped putting pen to paper, but it was just as an hobby, really. So we've got plenty of material.
Yeah. Have you got a set release date for that this year, or not sure?
It would be autumn time, probably.
Oh, right, soon as that.
Yeah, probably October, November maybe.
Yeah.
We're still looking at it. We've just got to get it finished. We're halfway there with it anyway.
Yeah. Right, just a few individual questions. I'll start with Terry, obviously the bass player. Who did you first hear that made you want to play music and so
playing
on?
music I was a big Kinks fan.
Right.
From you really got me up till like Waterloo Sunset.
Yeah.
That's why I got a guitar in the first place. But the bass player that made me think, "Ooh, I'd like to do that," was Jack Bruce. When I heard Wheels of Fire, the live spoonful, I realised that the bass could move around and change the atmosphere of a piece and bring it up and drop the tension. It was a very versatile thing, and I fancied that. So it was Jack Bruce, Tim Bogart from Vanilla Fudge, and later on I got into Stanley Clarke. In Return to Forever, when he had a dirty sound, it wasn't all it wasn't all the slapping and popping. It was
the real deal.
Growly sort of stuff.
Yeah. But John Hempler still influencing
I always forget about him, but I love him. He was a hero. Yeah.
I thought you mentioned Jack Bruce actually, just a funny feeling. Yeah. Right, just have you a favourite studio album of all time, just by any band? Nice easy questions.
Yeah. Go through the rack. Studio album. I can't think of one offhand. I usually go. I'm a big live bootleg fan myself. I love live recordings.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's done. Yeah. It's done there in front of you. There's no overdubs.
So what would be your favourite live album?
Well, anything with Cream live on it.
Right.
I mean that goes without saying really. Anything with them on it. Beck, Bogart, Peachy. It's the same guys, whatever live albums they're on, the same bass players that I like.
Yes.
So whatever band they're in. Yeah. I mean, I like drummers and guitarists as well. I'm as much influenced by, Hendrix.
Very selective.
Jeff Beck.
Apart from you two,
Ginger Baker, all the heavy players, people that you can hear and tell it's them when you hear it.
Yeah.
Like they've got their own sound, and I like that. It's their signature sound.
Right.
So you can always tell if it's like Ginger Baker on an album or if it's Jeff Beck or whoever. And they're the people I kind of gravitate to for inspiration.
Right, good.
And try and live up to it.
Gary, favourite drummer? Who did you hear that made you want to play? Turn your back on full-time work?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Charlie Watts.
Yeah.
Clem Burke. He was brilliant, Clem Burke. Obviously old sort of
Probably still is.
Billy Cobham and all that
probably
sort of
don't
stuff.
say it was.
Billy Cobham.
I felt Blondie had played recently, haven't they?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
It's amazing. On
Yeah, they played not far from me in Cheshire and Delamere Forest.
Clem Burke with them still. I mean,
Yeah, he is, yeah.
He makes their records. Some of that drums.
Brilliant.
Right, yeah.
Really good. Yeah, Charlie Watts, Clem Burke, Billy Cobham, Simon Phillips. I'm not into all diddly diddly stuff mainly, but
Just hit them hard.
hit them hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously
Yeah.
John Bonham.
Bish bash bob.
If it's worth playing it hard.
Play it,
Give
that's
it
it,
a
yeah.
good plonk.
It's too loud,
No
you're too old, you
subtlety.
know.
No subtlety.
There's that many different, and there's that
If it's
many
too
different
quiet, you've
styles.
gone deaf.
Huh? What you say?
Yeah.
If it's too loud, you're too old. If it's too calm,
There you go. Yeah.
Got him.
The old ones are the best. The old
You
chestnuts.
can't beat the old ones.
you leave my chestnuts out of it.
It's a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So, favourite album, you know, studio or live, just at
Like Terry, I do like live albums.
Yeah.
But live album, bloody hell. So many. Live and Dangerous.
right, yeah. The sort of thing that you can still put on and you still get the
Yeah.
goosebumps
Oh
when
yeah,
when you
Deep
play it.
Purple, all the Deep Purple stuff.
Yeah.
Razzmanazz. We were talking
Rather
about
than
that.
as we were
weren't we?
talking, yeah, they were talking about that.
Both
Rather than
Nazareth.
I learned to play drums
Yeah.
listening to Nazareth and Eagles, both greatest hits. That's how I learned to play. There you go.
I've just read that Nazareth are reforming with a new singer.
A good
as well.
new singer,
It's,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's and apparently Dad has given his blessing and he knows the singer. It's a bit of a massive
But
night.
there's only one guy left in it. It's not Manny, it's the other one, isn't it?
It's the bass player.
Bass player.
Probably.
Agnew, is it?
Pete Agnew, yeah.
I think he's the only original one left.
Yeah,
I think.
and I think it's the original drummer's son.
Darryl Sweet.
He plays drums. Yeah.
He was the original drummer.
Yeah, his son plays for them now.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
And why not?
Yeah.
it's still one of my favourite singers of all time, Dan McCafferty. Just without even trying.
We used to call him the Screaming Skull.
Right. yeah.
Not to his face.
Yeah.
Not to his actual skull.
And
He played Crew a couple of years ago, and he just stick thin with White Terror, but
yeah.
just that voice. And
Yeah.
when he did,
Broken down angel.
when he did Hearts Grown Cold, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, one band that I sort of missed because I always really enjoyed it was the Alex Harvey Sensational.
Oh,
Sound
yeah,
band.
yeah.
yeah.
They were one of my
Yeah, they're all good.
favourites.
Yeah, like, what's the
I
best
sort of
one?
missed them first time round. I mean, even being at a certain age, and I can remember being a Faith Healer on Planet Rock.
Yeah.
Thinking, what the hell is that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit of theatre to them, wasn't it? You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
We're
as well.
Alex Harvey and that. Like,
Larger
they've
than
got-
life, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, you don't see that side of things. Yeah.
Same question to Steve.
Yeah.
Your most influential
I think that's
guitarist,
interesting, really,
Yeah.
because you just said, I mean, that back in that day when you were at school in the early 70s and late 60s, there was that fusion of like what pop was and what rock was, and it were very much, you got loads of really pretty heavy rock in the charts, which you
Yeah.
don't see, or you
No.
sort of stopped happening in the 80s, really.
Yeah.
Well, sweet.
Yeah, I mean, there was some amazing rock played, and I remember, I mean, again, just going back to the question, my first real moment of, I wouldn't mind having a crack at that myself. I just enjoyed it so much when I saw Woodstock, the pictures when we skived off from school, we went to see it. And when it came out, and we went to see Woodstock, and of course I'm there with
10 years after.
yeah, Alvin Lee. I was just going to say Alvin Lee on that. It was a sensational Coming Home
Yeah.
bluesy rock thing
Yeah.
with his Gibson
Stole
TV
the
Going
stole
Home,
the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
on that Woodstock thing, and that was a bit of an inspiration. At that point, I hadn't actually played guitar, I don't think. And the other, of course, with Jimmy at the end, it's just to this day as fresh as paint. And it could have been, if somebody came along now and did exactly what Jimi Hendrix did at Woodstock, it'd be an overnight sensation, because it would just, like, even then, even though we knew who Jimi Hendrix was, and he'd put out several albums, and to some extent he was almost, at the end of the experience, it was like a new band almost.
Yeah.
And, but that performance was just so different to anything that had ever been put together on the stage ever before.
Yeah.
It were breaking new ground in a way.
It wouldn't happen now with all the health and safety restrictions and all that.
weird,
But
yeah.
no,
When
wouldn't get
it's
anywhere
just
near
the
that.
guy, the way he looked with all that Native American Indian stuff on and his beads, and he just worked on that whole thing so well, and the way he did Star Spangled Banner, and it just blew everybody away. And I think
It's unique.
You were saying about the the 70s, early 70s. I mean, I grew up in the early 70s glam, stuff like, you know, the Rubettes and Guy Slade and Sweet.
Yeah.
You don't get that sort of thing anymore.
No.
You know, with the old Top of the Pops.
No.
You could,
I mean,
you know,
can you imagine a song like
The
School's
Top
Out
of
getting in the
Pops,
check?
no.
Imagine Alice Cooper on Top of the Pops. It wouldn't happen,
No,
really.
no,
You just can't imagine that kind of heavy rock, really, which it is. You play it through a decent sound system and it's rocking.
That's
isn't it,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
Alice Cooper's still around doing it, and Top of the
Of course he
Pops is gone.
Well, there you go. That's
We were right
rock.
all along.
Say no more.
That's rock and roll power for you.
I blame the 80s for that, you know, all that new romantic stuff. And,
Of course it was, and over-synthesised, wasn't it? It all became too synth-poppy and all the rest of it, and lightweight. And but, as I'm sure you know, and as I didn't really realise the level of support for rock music and how deep it goes, you know, it's never gone away, it's always been around and as popular as ever. It's just never had the media exposure that it should have had, and the appreciation from the media has disappeared.
That's right, they just, you know, speak
media
about it, you
always-
know, it'll go away, you know.
Media are always looking for something new because it gives them something to write about. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's like they don't really hang on to stuff for very long because they've got to put new stuff. It's all about this. Oh, I found a new band, but that's not. It's not interesting to me to find a new band. You know, like
It's all image, you know, it doesn't matter whether you can play or not, it's just the image.
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's marketing rather than the actual live performances.
And I remember seeing them rock and roll films, like when they played at Wembley Stadium, people like Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee and all them old rock and rollers from the 50s who
Still
I mean,
works.
yeah, I used to hear those records at home because my mum used to play them all the time, and I suppose that was subliminally engaging with me, you know, the sound of Chuck's guitar and the voice of Little Richard and all that. It just always appealed to me, you know.
It was ahead of its time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, stood
and that's
out
where it started. And
stood
I'm
out
sure people like the Stones and the rest of it acknowledge that, don't they? You know,
Yeah.
and they had a direct influence on me.
I mean, all you had was Puff the Magic Dragon and that before that, wasn't it? And you got Chuck Berry coming on and Little Richard.
Yeah.
You think, oh, this is something primal, something
And I mean,
organic.
That weren't our generation, that were our parents' generation that, as teenagers, that bought into
That's
that.
right,
But the legacy carried across, and I think it's to this day skips generations, and people get, you know, it's like the old blues players, and you know, it's even to this day, young people, new generation of rock fans discover these old rockers, and thankfully one or two have discovered us.
Well, I sort of find that, I mean, like, you know, there's no real rock stars these days, is there? I mean, you know, there's no sort, you know, sort of Robert Plant's, John Bonham's, you know, Mick Jagger's, you know.
It's
you
that
know, Bon
identity,
Scott's.
isn't it? It's that character. It's like, and also every band. I mean, again, as a kid, you'd go to the record shop, and every week it seemed you could get half a dozen new records come out, and every one were a corker, and you had to really sometimes dither which one you wanted to listen to. I mean, I remember, you know, rushing out to buy "Stay With Me" by the Faces, because it just came on the radio and on a pop show on the radio. And I just heard this Ronnie Wood thing going on with this bottleneck and all the rest of it, and I just went and bought it straight away, almost before it had finished playing, because I had to hear it again. And there were good times for rock and roll and rock music, because you had your album bands, but even your singles bands seemed heavy in some ways, didn't they? Which were amazing, really.
Another general question I just mentioned, that did you all take lessons, or you did copying records, or just
copying records for me.
Yeah.
Slowing them down or speeding them up. If you played an album at 78, if you had the equipment, the bass was still the same. It was still the same key, but it was, because it was playing faster. You could hear it, but and you could learn it. You know,
faster licks, right? Yeah.
And when you play it slower, it goes wow. Yeah. So I like to get a mixture of that. Wow.
For goodness sake.
That's going to sound good on there.
What's the sound?
Just rip your speaker.
Well, it's going to go for heavy metal, you know, webzine, so, you know, it's...
He's going to rip his speaker out.
That's what Dave Davis did, isn't it?
Yeah.
He got the original
Yeah,
raspy
it
sound.
was one of the moments in rock and metal that made it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
You really got me going.
But it's like I like symphonic stuff, orchestra stuff as well. You know, like epic movie stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's full of big riffs.
Sounds
You know, like
nice,
Ben-Hur. Bum bum bum.
Well, that's why. I mean, I
Yeah.
suppose Led Zeppelin were one of the first bands that really picked on that idea of like almost like Zeppelin now's become classical music of a modern age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there with the greatest classical music
Yeah.
that's been written over the years, without a question.
Well, it's like your Blackmores and Malmsteens, you know, they
Transcends,
did get it from
yeah, of course it is.
classical music, you know.
It all ties in,
Yeah,
and when
choir
you
in
look,
on it.
good music's good music, and it'll last forever, whether it's classical or whether it's metal or heavy rock or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bottom line, really. And it's that fusion as artists, as performers, as a band. If you can get that balance of all those influences in one band,
Yeah.
then there's a hell of a chance that the noise they make will have a bit of an edge that's different, and
Yeah.
maybe that's what happened with us. And we did. You don't even know you're doing it probably, and you just sort of you think, gosh, that's.
Yeah.
And I think Gary had a good point. It's like you could hear a different band play, and you knew exactly the bands. And I'm sure you can today. It's just that you don't get the sounds so original in a way. It's more difficult because we've got all this technology, and as a musician, you're fighting that technology to get your identity across.
That's right.
And everybody now, I mean, I've been playing around with amplifiers, and I'm not going to criticise certain brands,
Yeah.
but the only amp at the moment I feel comfortable with is the Vox.
Yeah.
A Vox AC30.
It's a personal thing,
Especially
isn't it?
you
You
can
know,
smell
it's-
it.
you know,
But
yeah,
you know,
if you're not
back
happy,
in the day, there were 2 or 3 amps I could have tried and probably got the same sort of sound, because it's that combination of the person, the guitar, and the amp, and the person makes the sound as a musician. People seem to think it's, you know, you can if you've got the right gear, you'll get the sound. It don't work like that. It's an equal split. It's like 33% person, 30, you know. The amp, it's a triangle,
Yeah.
and there's subtleties as a musician that you put into it that affect the sound incredibly and make it what it is for your instrument. And I'm sure there's a lot, and I think with a new generation of musicians, there's too much confidence in the technology, and the problem with that is because it says on there that he's put that today and you'll get Townsend's Who sound, or you'll get Hendrix's Woodstock sound, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you believe it, then yeah, you might have some fun with it. But if you start believing it, you'll lose what you're trying to pursue.
You can't develop your own individuality.
I think you use people as inspiration,
Yeah,
and then you create your own sound from that
Yeah.
inspiration, in the way the Stones did with Chuck and the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's why today we do have a lot of sounds that are too samey out
That's
there.
right. You can't really sort of tell anybody
Yeah.
apart, can you?
No, not in
Yeah.
terms of their individual. Because the character of the musician, although it might be very strong and powerful, it's not given a chance because the technology is then suppressing it almost. It's the same with recording studios. A lot of those techniques have been lost in recent years.
But they came to a stage where people say, "Oh, we'll get a good bass sound, we'll get a good drum sound." Well, what you want is the sound that the drummer's making, the
Yeah,
sound
of
the
course
bass
you do.
player's making, not
And that's
not
the thing.
squish everybody to sound the same, because you know it's got everyone would sound the same
Well,
then.
You know, I mean, as I
Might as
said,
well have a machine doing it.
when I worked in education, I mean, I were linked to my experiences in studios and live, and I were actually involved in the sort of sound training programs and helping develop them. And it's just amazing that, you know, the first job of anyone recording music is to listen to that musician playing that instrument and make sure that they can capture what that is on that device, whether it's a computer or whether it's tape. It doesn't matter what the source is. And to do that, you've got to have knowledge about how they're performing and what sound they're making, which microphones you need to use to get the near representation of that on that system. But today, a lot of people just think, oh, I've got this machine, and if I get that sound on this machine to say this, that's all I need to do. And this is a big problem in recording, because those things have gone out of
Yeah,
fashion.
the old ways.
You can't pick out individual musicians, you know, like I was saying earlier.
So that's the difficulty, and I think in a way Vigilante were recorded at a time which was on the cusp of that technology revolution. I love computers and technology, don't get me wrong, but you've the tools to do a job, and you have to know what the job is that you need to get done, and not let the technology dictate to you, otherwise you'll lose the artist in that mix. I think it's very, very difficult balance. But Vigilante were recorded in studios using old techniques, and it sounds as fresh as paint, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it coming out.
Yeah. Have you managed to get any copies for sale here today or not?
No, we've not been able to get them
just that far away.
in time. The release date's the 1st of April.
Yeah. I noticed last night you got some original Fire Kings here.
Yeah.
Castle Records.
Again, they've just been locked away in storage.
A museum.
We were looking to
Oh, look at these! Just like
I couldn't believe it. I think they were worth a lot of money being the original. I said to Belly, I said, are these the real pressings? She said, yeah. That's unbelievable.
But again, we'd rather, you know, it's all about giving back, really. They're there, might as well let people have them if they want them, you know.
Put them on eBay and you can retire then.
Yeah.
Right, so after this set tonight, future touring plans? I know you're playing Keep It True in Germany.
Yeah.
Keep It True, we've got that. We'll just see what happens, really. You know, I think a lot of people at the moment, although there's a lot of interest in us and a lot of media going on with Facebook and everything else, I think people are just waiting to see what happens tonight.
We are.
So are we.
But you know, I mean, we've had people asking, and we'll if there's a gig that's right, we'll play it, and you know, see how things go. You know, just
we're trying to keep perspective and trying to keep, you know, at the moment it is a case of just
enjoying
ourselves, with this and with kit, and then we're looking at all offers, and we'll just see if there's any other interest, they know where we are. See, this is the beauty again of technology working for the bands. I think musicians today and bands today have a lot more, not control, maybe control's the wrong word, it's not that, it's just options, you can communicate better. I mean, I don't, but
I just say in the 80s there was no internet sort of thing and file sharing.
It's great, because it's really allowed fans and artists to get together and enjoy the music.
Well, like I said, you know, especially on the Vardis reunion site, I mean, it's there straight away, isn't it?
You were one of the first one on there, weren't you?
I can't remember.
You were one of the first one on there.
That's almost been the stalker, so I'm going to say no to that.
You won't beat Shane.
No.
No.
Don't put that.
How you doing, Shane?
Hey.
How's that going?
Yeah, I'll say, look, morning, Shane. We'll see you soon, hopefully. You know.
Good afternoon, Shane.
Yeah.
More like it.
Top man.
Good stuff.
No, I think that's the thing now. We can look at it and we'd love to play a tour, but again, it more than likely be around the time of the album, the new Vardis album.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think we're just looking at various festival possibles and if you know.
It's a long way away, but obviously when you do sort of have sort of touring plans, would you hope to headline or just get a support slot?
Depends on the band, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be happy to, or even do a shared bill. You know, I've seen one or two.
Yeah, like something like this on a smaller scale. Yeah,
nice one.
Yeah,
something like that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, we're open to all possibilities. Really, we're very, easy to contact and
weddings. We can do
weddings.
Weddings, funeral, bar mitzvahs.
Weddings, bar mitzvahs.
Strip joints. We're not fussy, are we?
Last time, no,
that's not.
No, I won't go there.
But there's a lot of people come a long way. You know, I've talked to a guy from Romania.
Really?
He's come across. You know,
Yeah,
for the,
that is
and there's guys,
admirable,
obviously, Germany, the German metal fans, they'll go anywhere. There's people here from America, from Russia.
Greece, there's
I know, just it's unbelievable, that, you know.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's humbling, really, isn't it, as well?
All these old bands, and
it's really sweet.
Watching a band like Truffle, last night, and so Gaskin. people singing it word for word, and you know, just like I say, it's good music. You know, it never goes away, does it? You know.
If you grew up with it and it comes back, or it's still there's that connection forever, isn't there? You know, I mean, it's part of your life, and as long as that music's still there, then your life feels like it's still going along the right track. You know, rather than something that comes today and goes tomorrow, then you're left like.
Well, it is, and it still makes you feel
connection.
Yeah, and it makes you feel a stronger, you know, a happier. It's nice. It's a nice feeling, a stronger, happier feeling, and I think that's a powerful thing. And I think it's shared from the bands and the fans, and we're all in the same sort of melting pot in that sense, that music's there to be shared and enjoyed. And I think with the internet, you've not got one or two major record labels that control that and can make or break you, because they can't stop you getting it out.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love to see other bands on websites and all the rest of it, and you can really get a feel for what they're trying to do and achieve with it, and then the fans will pick it up or not, as the case may be.
It's like the website that I write for, Planet Marsh. You get just so many smaller labels, and it's a good thing. It's a very refreshing thing.
It is, and
it gives more people a chance, doesn't it? You know, I mean, everyone's going to.
It's almost the modern version of what happened in a lot of the 70s era with some of the, you know, when the punk thing started taking off with the indie labels and all this. It was a very positive thing, you know. I mean, a lot of the music weren't very good, but the actual... But that's irrelevant in a sense, because they enjoyed what they were doing, and if the fans know that and enjoy that and can get access to it, that's all you need.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with punk. We're influenced by some of it.
I used to be in a punk band.
It just got me that they slagged everybody else off.
Yeah, I for that one.
When I first started, I got into this band, punk band, and it was called Bloody Smelly and the Stench. We used to rehearse in a pig barn at race.
She'd fit in a t-shirt, you know. If you get like a 50-inch chest.
The thing with punk though, they kept saying, everybody could have a go, anyone could get a guitar, but that's how skiffle started, that's how rock and roll started.
Well before my territory.
No, but I'm saying that's what everyone's had to do, you know, they've had to carry ramps on the bus and all that.
That's a good attitude, isn't it? And I think the attitude in some aspects musically were good, wasn't it? That's the idea, that it's bringing that idea back. So it makes you
keep it simple and have a go.
And enjoy enjoy the noise.
Yeah. Right, one last question. I know you've got a long day ahead of you. And the bar's open. How did you feel about being sort of, lumped in with the new wave of British heavy metal movement back in the day? Did you, you glad to be part of that? Because really, you wouldn't really sort of class Vardis as, you're more like sort of a boogie band. I always thought, but
I think so. I mean, I think we are a rock and roll band, really. And I think at the end of the day, the metallic sound is definitely in our sound, without question. And I think because of that era, I think there were an article in one of the magazines at that time that labelled it as a
Sounds magazine, Jeff Barton,
And I think you were right, really. It was definitely a new wave of its time. I think for sure, because we were the ones that, I suppose we all at the time were classing ourselves more as heavy rock bands, and when Jeff, I suppose, came up with that phrase, it were a way of saying this is the next generation of the next wave of your Led Zeppelins or your Deep Purple.
Because obviously you had a harder edge, didn't you?
But you're right. I mean, definitely because we had that more rock and roll boogie sound and bluesy in some aspects. I think it did sort of put us on the edge of that sort of type of what is more a traditional metal sound.
Exactly.
But I think the guitar primarily is the metal in the sound, with that sort of clang and the whole kerrang sound. I think when you get a rock taste of it,
don't forget the
and the bass.
Thank you.
I first saw you with Motorhead and Raven and Girl School in 1980, and it just fitted in with that bill, really. There's no, just.
Well, and I mean, we're proud to be part of it. To be honest, I think
it were a good time for them sort of bands. I mean, it were a good circuit. Everybody sort of all gelled. We all sort of like knew each other as such as well, didn't we? We all seemed to follow each other about and various things. And
I mean, all the gigs in the North East, I remember we did loads of gigs in the North East because all the working men's clubs and that we used to do. And it were a bizarre situation because you can't imagine today going in a sort of working men's club or a public venue that's open to the general public and playing original music, a set of original rock music. It just want you to play covers, basically.
That's right, I find that a lot from where, you know, where I live.
But in this area, we're very well received, and I mean, we used to always be on the same weekly bill as bands like Son of a Bitch, who, as you know, became Saxon.
Def Leppard were on.
And I think so many bands cut the teeth doing the North East club circuits, and the rock fans up there have always been rock solid. I mean, without question.
Newcastle Upon Tyne, they've got some, you know, obviously, you know, especially from around this area, Tigers Upon Tyne.
There's a lot of bands.
Ice and Dog, you know. And
you could always get a gig, you know, and always get out there and play, and that's how you learn your craft, isn't it? Really? And learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And we've had some great memories. So,
I can't remember my memories.
King of the one-liners there.
I try.
Yeah, try.
You're going to get a Fez. Good try.
Right, that's fantastic. That's about all I really want to ask. You know, it's, just like to thank Vardis, you know, from a fan's point of view. It's a very big deal. So,
appreciate it.
Yeah, and good luck tonight and.
Cheers, mate.
With the re-recordings, new album and future tours.
Just thank you everybody for not forgetting us, because it's humbling that so many people remember what we've done, and it's nice. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the new stuff and some of the new things that we're going to be bringing through this year. And hope to see everybody soon now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Once again, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Can you tell us where the nearest chip shop is?
New chip shop.
The nearest.
I think they're all closed on a Sunday.
Don't worry, Teddy, we'll sort.
I can't play
We'll
without
get
chips.
you a McDonald's chips and some